Hello, my name is Chitra Ayu. Today I would like to discuss about my presentation, and the title is The Main Character's Personal Principle Depicted in Flowers of Evil. Okay, for the first introduction. This article aims to explain the personal principle of the male character in the Korean drama Flowers of Evil, which aired in 2020. Flower of Evil is a romantic crime thriller about an emotionless psychopath who changes his identity and tries to leave his darkness behind. The past behind his marriage, a homicide detective, tries to uncover the truth about him. Lee Jun-ki plays Baek Hee-sang. He has a dark past which he has hidden by working hard to be the perfect husband and father. His new life is threatened when his wife takes on a case related to this past. To his past, Moon Chae-won is Hee-sang's wife, or Cha Ji-won. Her life seems perfect, and she loves Hee-sang very much. As she begins to investigate an old serial murder case, clues begin to point in a direction she never dreamed of. Toward her husband, then we have Kim Mo-jin, who is a reporter with past connection to Hee-sang, and to Hae-soo, who is Hee-sang's sister. Both have interesting stories and many challenges they must face. This can illustrate how the male character's ID is higher than his superego. The next scan that show that Lee Jun-gi ID or Baek Hee-sang is higher than his superego is when Lee Jun-gi does not allow his wife to investigate the case that happened to him a few years ago. But his wife still insist on investigating the case. After that, they argue for a while until they wanted to spare it. And the next is theory. Freud proposed that the mind is divided into three components, ID, ego, and superego, and that the interaction and conflict among the components create personality. Freud, 1923 or 1949. And then, according to Sigmund Freud, human personality is complex and has more than a single component. In his famous psychoanalytic theory, Freud states that personality is composed of three elements known as the ID, the ego, and the superego. These elements work together to create complex human behaviors. And then, according to Freud's psychoanalytic theory, the ID is the primitive and instinctual part of the mind that contains sexual and aggressive drives and hidden memories. The superego operates as a moral conscience, and the ego is the realistic part that mediates between the desire of the ID and the superego. And then the analysis. Scan 1. Baek Hee-sang is someone who has a dark past. He was accused of being a serial killer a few years ago. At the time, Kim Mo-jin, a friend of Baek Hee-sang's wife, went to Baek Hee-sang's office accidentally, and Kim Mo-jin were relatives when they were little and come from the same village. Because Baek Hee-sang didn't want Kim Mo-jin to know that he was still alive, he had the heart to give him poison drink and lock him in the warehouse. And this is a dialogue between Kim Mo-jin and Baek Hee-sang. Kim Mo-jin, what are you doing here? Are you the husband of Cha Ji-won? Baek Hee-sang, sit down, I will tell you everything. Kim Mo-jin, I won't tell anyone, please let me go. And Baek Hee-sang, take it easy, let's sit down and drink tea. Kim Mo-jin, no, I have to go. Baek Hee-sang, don't go. In the scan, it is seen that Baek Hee-sang has a very high ID compared to his superego, and his ego cannot control that high ID. The visible ID is Baek Hee-sang's satisfaction when hurting someone who harms him. For example, in that scan, Baek Hee-sang's lack of superego is seen when he does not pay attention to how humanity morals apply, and he didn't care if that person lived or died. All he wanted was to get rid of the person he didn't like. And then the scan 2 for analysis. Baek Hee-sang had covered up several cases about himself in the past to his wife, who is the police. He did not dare to tell the truth to his wife because he loved her very much. He was afraid that if his wife found out, his wife would hate him. until one day his wife becomes suspicious of him and chooses to solve the problem, the case, and finally the case was revealed and Baek Hee-sang regretted all his actions. And this is a dialogue between Cha Ji-won, his wife, and Baek Hee-sang. Cha Ji-won, so it's been true that you know about the serial murders in the village all along. Baek Hee-sang, I'm sorry I covered everything. Cha Ji-won, why did you do that to me? Baek Hee-sang, I don't want you to hate me. I'm sorry. In the scan above, ID Baek Hee-sang is defeated by his superego who can see moral values well. Baek Hee-sang regrets having lied to his wife all this time. He has hidden everything from his wife. And the last one is conclusion. There is a problem for many people between the ID, ego, and superego. People with mental disorders usually have a conflict between their ID and superego, meaning when they have a high enough ID but their ego cannot fulfill that desire because their superego does not support it. So it affects his mind. But from Baek Hee-sang himself, he experienced a very high ID and the ego was able to make it happen, but on the other hand he also had a good superego because he still had morals by regretting all his actions. So it can be said that Baek Hee-sang has a high ID and ego but also has a pretty good superego side. Okay, thank you for the attention.